All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Monogatari, the discussion. It's been a while. I've sorry. I've eaten a little bit something. I've looked over the screens and seen if there's something I can get out of all of this. Probably gonna be very very short, as it always is. You know me. I'm a very concise person. Yeah, let's get into it, shall we? We do have at 06. I still need to kind of find a way to actually get to these frames because I'm like jumping in 12-ish frames. I do wonder if there's like a thing that we can like do slower. This little pan up, which is very interesting. It's definitely using CGI in some kind of capacity because it looks very much like it. I mean, as somebody who's playing games a lot, kind of uses, almost looks gamish, but I still like it. It's well done, and it's a crazy sequence if you actually see it in presence, right? You see it in sequence basically. And we're going into the green hues. I do like the green hues. It kind of fits the mood. We're like dark and dank kind of. And we're talking about like, it's very thematic, I feel. It is very thematic to the general feeling. We're talking about dark topics that are not quite as approachable maybe, right? Shinobu needs the dark, obviously. We have daytime, so she can only appear in the dark. So she's choosing to appear in the tunnel, which makes sense. It's very interesting because a little bit later, she's like saying stuff like when he's asking about the thoughts that she's having of like maybe sacrificing herself for Deftopia. She's like, I didn't have such thoughts until this moment. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because there's this common idea that, especially when it comes to stuff like suicide and stuff, that you don't like, a lot of people don't want to broach the topic, especially even like therapists or whatever, because they are afraid that it will put the thought of the thing in the head of the patient, of the person they're talking to. The thing is, most of these times this is unfounded. If somebody has these thoughts, right? If somebody is intelligent and capable of being aware and everything, if they're having these tendencies, they will have thought of it. And if you're bringing them up and they haven't had them before, it's very unlikely that they have them now. And mainly also because it is more important to clear up if these thoughts have existed than making sure that you just never approach the subject and just hope that those thoughts have never existed, right? Because a lot of patients who have these thoughts and feelings, they express them. They talk to relatives maybe in some capacity, not directly. They're not saying, oh, I'm having suicidal thoughts. That they're not often saying that, but what they're doing is like hinting at that. And if you ask directly, a lot of them will actually say, yes, I have. Unless there's certain situations where the thing is already planned, where it's already like, I've concluded, I've planned, I know how I'm gonna do it. There's obviously sometimes the intent to hide it. But even then, the thoughts are already in the head of the person, right? So getting the idea that I don't want to talk about it and ask about it because I could be putting the idea into the head of that person is unlikely and is generally being dissuaded. Most psychologists, most therapists say no. You ask about it all the time, every time, not in every therapy session or whatever, but if you're taking in a new patient and you're like trying to go through your checklist and see what's wrong and whatever, you're always asking about suicide. I do really love what we're doing here when we talk about Deftopia, when we're actually showing the past and whatnot, and we're showing it as if it's in like a weird 60s kind of horror movie. It almost looks real, the castle. I don't know how they did it. Maybe it's just a weird filter that they put over it, or they have like some weird miniature kind of thing that they put in front of it, like they do with stop motion and whatnot, and they actually filmed it, and now they put like a a color filter over it, because it looks really like one of those old movies. And then we do oh shit. I mean, I was already lusting over it in the actual episode, but holy fuck, look at that. Look at that. We haven't seen that before. We've seen her in the smaller forms and whatever, and we've seen like close-ups of like her face when she was in the older form, but holy fuck. That's looking really great. 118, we speak up about like wanting to appear strong in front of Suicide Master, and I think it's very interesting that we have the directional choice here to put the bangs in front of Shinobu's eyes. We had bangs a lot, right? We had it with Nadeko, and now here we use it in order to kind of create halfway, like we don't create a complete unknown, we don't create a complete shield of her emotions, of her feelings towards us. We do see she's looking down, which means she's kind of demure, she's kind of like in contemplation, in thought, something is weighing heavy on her. But we also see almost like the hair is even, the bangs are even underlining this fact, because the bangs and the hair that is over the eyes, halfway over the eyes, feels heavy. It feels heavy on her when we look at this kind of shot. But we go like a couple of seconds later, she is going into determination, right? We are going from a downward look. We're blinking, and then we're like, okay, I'm determined, right? I wanna prepare myself mentally for this interrogation, for like this meetup again. This is gonna be something very much at the heart of me, but I'm determined. Also, we do have at 132. 132, we have her rubbing her feet together, which is generally something we do when we're feeling cold, right? We're rubbing the feet together in order to create some friction, to create some heat, right? Make us feel a little bit more warm. We do the same thing with hands sometimes, but the way she's rubbing her feet together and she's like almost in a fetal position, it's a gesture of comfort. She's comforting herself in her anxiousness. She feels vulnerable, right? She feels very, very weak in this moment, and you see that in her entire posture. You see that in the comforting gestures she's showing, right? Hugging herself, rubbing her feet together, looking down. All right, we jump ahead a little bit through like we had the elevator shaft already. Nisio Isin cars, classic. Also, can I have a Sodachi made, please? Can I have one? I want one. I really want one. But also very interesting that her response is actually kind of one-to-one what Senjugahara would be saying in a situation like that. I mean, maybe not for Araragi, because then she's gonna be like, oh yes, master, I'm gonna do it. It will be ready. But otherwise, that's a very Senjugahara line. Don't assume to survive the night. Be careful, Araragi. Don't start with her as well, alright? It's nice that you're getting along again, but calm down, man. A little bit forward. We talked about this for a second, like I love how her hair is framing in the right side of the screen. Right there, right? Like we have that contrast between like closed in and dark, and then the hair, which is kind of complementing that, but the hair is curving itself, and then we do have a bigger, wider space, more open, more lit up on the other side, right? Where her face is, which is also kind of brightening up right now. Do love the little details with like the projector seats, but why do you need so many? It is, I mean, maybe it's not projector seats, but it looks like projector seats, like the little things on there that we can put like a projector on that's going to like put sheets or movies or whatever you need in terms of like teaching material onto the front of the class, onto the chalk, not chalk, but onto the board. All right, and we have a little fist bump. What are these shots? What the fuck are these shots I'm horny posting today? Oh, these are such great shots. Look at that cheeky smile. Holy shit. I know why I like her, right? She's very likable. That is also a very interesting shot, Like I pointed it out in the reactions, like I can't make perfect sense of it, but it's very interesting to the eyes. Where she has like, she's in the dark completely as she's working on the problem, and he is in the light observing her from further away. Very interesting to look at. I don't know what to make of it quite. And you have the glasses with the eyes not showing. A little bit later, we do have like the detail, like the glasses, and we do see the code, which is like her eyes are seeing through the encryption. Basically, it's like almost like it's natural, almost like it's built into her glasses, which I really like in terms of like, it's like she just sees through the code basically. At 420, quite the nice frame by the way. At 420, we do have the basketball in the background. I really love the color composition of what we're showing here, right? The purple with the green up ahead and whatnot. I don't know if it has any meaning, but it's a very nice and comfortable color composition for me. A little bit later, we do actually have the phone as a central object in the shot. I do wonder if this is like framing the phone as like, this is the central piece of evidence I'm looking at and I'm talking at right now. So it's like, it's almost like it's in an interrogation seat basically, and we're interrogating the phone on some level. 514 has us being at the bottom of the sea. And what I find very interesting about this, I pointed it out, of course, that this is like where the last victim was found, but also it's very interesting how we are trying to shed light on the situation, basically. And what we're doing here is we have a relatively dark bottom of the sea down behind Araragi, and the further it goes to his head, right, to his thinking apparatus, the more lit up it gets. It's kind of like the sun rays are shining from his head, basically, right? From up there where he's thinking. We're trying to shine a light on the situation, more or less. All right, we go a little bit further. There's a couple of very cool frames, but this, putting like connecting natural sciences with network graphics, right? Like this looks to me like you sometimes seeing when you're like pictures of like different airports being connected, or pictures of like different big connections of like nodes through the internet and whatnot. And we're showing that as kind of like a thing about like the natural science field or the science field in general. And then we do have the basically real life versions of thermostats as for Celsius and Fahrenheit. They do look real. I wonder if those are real ones, if those are like the bags and whatnot that's been shown in the previous episodes where we do have those little cut-ins. It looks very real. A little bit further ahead at 617, we do put the pen back in, right? We concluded. We have drawn to our conclusion. We're closing the manga, but also is that like a subtle reference to Baka episode 1? You know, with the pen point of view and whatnot to Araragi. It could be a soft reference. It's not a direct one. It's not a directly traced one, but it could be a soft reference to that one. 31 has us. That is a beautiful, an amazing shot. Look at that. Look at that. It looks so cool. But yeah, a blink between our sentences. She's finishing one sentence, then she blinks, and then she's continuing on, looking in another direction. Very cool how we keep that conversational flow going and just keep the visual pace of the episode up to speed with what we're talking about and how we're talking and how we're making pauses in different like conversations. I do love how we have like seemingly or almost our body being perfectly cut in the middle here and cut on the the head as well. Very, very nice Gaan face here. And we do have that reference with Gaan complimenting Miniko, right, on her skills and being like that she was able to actually see that. And then Araragi is quickly flashing reason. So I'm wondering why that is flashing, because it could be multiple ways. He could be like, what's your reason for like being like so surprised that she actually picked up on that? Or is he saying, yes, she's got reason, right? She's a very, very intelligent person. That would be a weird way to put it, but it could be. But we're not getting an answer to that either way. All right, a little bit further ahead. I do love that. Like the background, you see that? How it's just how it's flowing past. It's a very simple thing, but it's so damn satisfying to look at. So these are the kind of things that make you really enjoy an episode even more than the clear reference and the clear little call outs and the content. Like this flow, this almost natural flow of the environment is really amazing. I do love that. And then she's saying zero, and basically behind her there's a lot of zeros, like the codes of the Matrix, basically like binary code flowing behind her. That's a cool little thing. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's really neat. And I didn't know the hospital was actually at the beach, right? We do see the front of it and like the sun from the back oftentimes, like the very perfectly symmetrical shot, and then we go to the other side and we see the beach. Interestingly enough, these shots are never symmetrical, but they are tilted in a way to show more of like an open beachfront on the side, which seems a lot more relaxed than the shots we see from the hospital head on, where it's like just almost perfectly symmetrical and very like orderly. This is not orderly, this is more calm, and not calm, relaxed and disorderly in a way, right? Lighthearted, I would say. And Gan actually is saying here that she almost lost heart. I think it's very nice that we have the tipping phone, right? The thing that she did a couple of episodes ago when she was going through the other phone, and she's tipping the phone and then she's throwing it away, right? I'm done. I'm fucking done with this shit. As she's saying, I was about to lose heart, which perfectly matches it. 7:54, we have again the perfect body head split, right? Cool imagery. I don't know if it's supposed to mean anything specific, but I don't think so. It's just cool imagery to look at, but it's cool to point out as well, I think. I feel like that is a very nice thing. I also love this frame of Araragi. That frame goes hard with him like being like almost looming over it, and the shadows being in a way that like, yeah, there's shadows here, but he's like lit up on the chin and everything, right? And on the cheeks. So it feels like the light is shining from down below to him up above, which makes sense since like the coffin or whatever it is, right? The medical tube, whatever, is shining onto him. But it's a frame that goes really hard, especially with like the round seat in the back of him, right? Kind of closing him in, basically being like a very, very comfortable round, perfectly round unit, and then it's being split off by a line that is in the middle and is cutting off most of, like, he's still partially visible, but most of his shirt, right? Or most of his upper body. That is a frame. That is a nice frame as well, right? We're not seeing the other eye. It's kind of hiding behind her hairline and behind her cap. But she's very like the contemplative, whatever. Did I mention actually how much I do love the Araragi Ahoge question mark? It's such a staple at this point, but it's really cool to see every fucking time when the Ahoge is like, whoop, wait, what? What do you mean? And you immediately get what it's supposed to represent, because at this point it's so baked in. We have the cute Shinobus in the background here, right? Like at the pool, or just like saying hooray and whatnot. On the right side, interestingly enough, we do have a Shinobu with like a 4-leaf clover. Is that supposed to mean anything? I don't know if she ever had an outfit like that we saw, but 4-leaf clover is normally a lucky thing. Does Shinobu have some kind of supernatural luck? Are we supposed to express that, or what's the deal? And what's the deal with the numbers, or 151 and 7082? Is there something specific on that, or is that just, I don't know, sheet number or whatever? We do have her looking stern, and on the right side she's like criminal Shinobu, what the fuck? She has her mugshot taken. At 8:28 here, Gan is talking a lot about the basketball team and how this is difficult to deal with as an adult, and she would like to believe that the basketball team is special and it's not everybody who is like this. And it's very interesting because they're bouncing a ball in the background, and this last one that they're throwing, it almost looks like they're throwing a skull or something, like somebody's head or whatever. And here we do have the blocking, right? That's very common in basketball, trying to block that ball that's flying along, but apparently it isn't. And Gan didn't have the resolve to actually deal with all of that basketball inner circle jerk drama, which I can feel hard, right? As an adult, sometimes you're like getting yourself into something and then you're like, I didn't want to deal with this kiddie shit. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not necessarily kiddie shit. It's just like, it feels like there's so much stuff that people are putting them, like especially teenagers are putting pressure on themselves for that they don't necessarily have to. Dynamics, unhealthy dynamics that are so complicated at some point in time that it's really tedious to untangle. But at the same time, you see that it shouldn't have come to that in the first place. I do really love the color shifts, right? Purple, green, whatever. We're shifting back and forth between different colors, and it's making the scene very enjoyable and dynamic. But also, I feel the frame 844 right here, it's coming in a second. This shot of her being in the seat, it almost feels like she's very exhausted in the seat. She's just leaning back into the seat, exhausted, kind of clutching to one of her feet. She feels small in the frame, right? Like almost deflated in, right? And not in control of the situation, basically just trying to get through the slog, as she's kind of explaining while she's talking to Araragi. It's also interesting how Araragi in this scene almost is comforting Garn. Like that the roles are reversed. Normally Garn is the one who's like, don't worry about it, Koyomin. We're gonna get ahead of this. And now Araragi is like, he's asking questions, but he's still like, well, can't you do this or can't you do that? Come on, right? I can understand that, right? He's empathizing and he's kind of there for her. So really cool how that is a role reversal in a way. Also these flashbacks about like the old Kakanui scenes and the Deftopia scenes flashing in the back as they're talking. And the room is very dark, right? Like they're not very lit up over there. It seems almost like they're talking in a very confined mood, right? They're not getting out of there really thought-wise. It's just everything is looking dire in a way. I have these little... This is a really cool way that Monogatari sometimes does flashbacks. It doesn't always do it that way, but a lot of series could really take an example from this, that you don't need to always just do a flashback to the exact scene you've seen before, but you could do it in a dynamic way, like you do here. We're talking about something and we're still showing like the room we're inside, and then we're using the flashbacks basically appearing on monitors on the sides in order to remind us partially, and in a very... us seeing these panels in a very new way, right? Because we haven't seen them from these different angles or like with reduced screen space and whatnot, and obscured by other elements in the scene. So it kind of adds a fresh tint to it, and it kind of prevents us being bored or kind of exhausted by all of these flashbacks and information from different parts of the series coming in. So yeah, a lot of series could do that. It's such a fucking creative way to flashback to episodes. Also, I've never seen the shrine stairs drawn in this way. That's really cool. That's really cool looking how the shrine stairs are drawn here, and the woods, right? The bamboo woods, really cool looking. Not gonna lie, it's really kind of very clean, right? A very interesting art style they're using here. This one, Gan is kind of turning her head away, right? It's almost like she's putting her hand on her head like it's a headache to deal with. And she's like almost embarrassed, I feel, to show her face, because she isn't used to not being ahead of things, knowing enough, being in control. We said that before, right? Having the situation under control. And she's kind of dreading that Kaganui is coming here. This is a headache. I'm at a loss. These are the kind of thoughts that come to my mind. I do love the vamp shot in front of the moon. Really cool, really cool. And I also did notice that while she's flying over there and then we see that person right here, that's Kier. That's Kier. This is the exact Kier scene that we've seen when we started this entire arc in episode 9. And that is also the little shed that we're walking past that Araragi and Gan found, I think, the second victim in. Or the third, maybe? Also, could be the third. These shots are very artistic, very cool. the moon reflecting on the water surface, just as in a second right here, moon reflecting on the water surface, and we have these old film projector black stripes in the middle here and there, right, going through like we're looking at this as if it's a movie or some kind of like film grainy shot. 939, again, the shot goes really hard. This goes so hard, this shot, like the from down up at like an impoverished figure of Suicide Master and looking at the moon with the purple hues in the back, really, really hard. All right, this one. Holy shit, what a frame, what a shot. Again, that goes hard. I don't know what else to say. This shot goes hard as fuck. Holy shit, look at that. With the lighting like coming from the down below, as if it's like it makes the shot very creepy and imposing. Well, not right. Imposing shots are normally being camera from down up and being looked down on, but this is different, right? The light is coming from the ground and it almost feels like it's reversed, but it has the same effect. This is a really, really cool shot, but also a very defiant look in Gaan's eyes. It's like, I'll get to the bottom of this at some point, right? I'll get to it. She's like challenging fate here. She's like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna do it, right? I promise you. There's a lot of determination, a lot of grit, a lot of like defiance in there. I think also this idea like lust against hunger, and then we have the red in the background. It makes perfect sense with like what we know in terms of like Deathtopia and her color scheme and what we've seen in the Monogatari arc. So the red with the white dots makes perfect sense. We do have the gaze of Gaan going down here, right? She's very concerned. She has regret and concern about Kagenui and her rocky relationship with Deathtopia, with Devious. I do wonder what happened in the past, right? I mean, I said that in the original discussion, but yeah, there's like this grudge that's going on, and we don't know how to deal with that. 1017. All right, this is another great frame. I feel like what this is supposed to say is like she's regaining the driver's seat. She's like regaining control. We're like looking right at her, right? She's level. She's level to our eyes. And she's in like almost like the way she's sitting, she's almost in a meditative pose. So it's like she's calmer now. That's what it's supposed to express. She had that stress, that frustration, that like being unsure about what's about to happen with Kagenui and all of that. And now she's like, she breathed in a couple of times and now she's like, okay, all right, we're gonna do this. That's how it feels. 1038, a really cool frame. Feels very Evangelion-esque. I gotta say, this feels very Evangelion-esque. You have the danger, the caution in the background. Evangelion would probably be an orange background, but it's like the way the camera distorts and the way like all of these flashing danger signs are in the back, it feels very Evangelion-esque. Just wanted to point that out because I thought it was really cool how it, like, what feeling it gave me. And Gaan here talking about she'd have to excommunicate another junior. She's like, I would hate that. Or what is she saying? And I just hate that, right? She hates doing that since she already has done it. And there's like this, the red for the anger, right? For all the, like the feelings and the emotions coming up is like the hair flipping, the hair like flowing, almost like there's some energy coming from inside, right? That's supposed to burst out. I mean, that's one of the reasons why all of that Super Saiyan stuff in like Dragon Ball Z and whatever works on a visual level, right? On a metaphorical level, it's like energy bursting out and then whoosh, everything is like streaming off, right? Like ki energy and whatever. And that works. It works with the hair swirling here. You go a little bit farther at 1120. We talk about like the fan club. I do love this little color play on the different colors, where you just, I guess, like create a negative image of what of the Araragi frame. It's almost like we're leaving reality, right? We're like, reality is unraveling for a second. I don't know why, but this frame really screams realization to me. And I can't really tell why, I can't really explain why exactly that is, but this is how it feels to me. We have the fucking cheeky Kanbaru smile, I just needed to point that out. And holy shit, they're really going hard with that Kanbaru fan service in this episode. Even the armpit, hello? I mean, I appreciate it, okay? I really love Kanbaru, her design is peak. Tomboy's best girls, really. 1136. I do love that colored smear in the background. Right, it's really cool. Like you're just smearing colors over it, but it has structure, it has order, it has like composition, and it's looking really cool. Kanbaru smile. Holy shit, Kanbaru, what are you doing? But yeah, all of these backgrounds are cool. I'm also asking I'm asking myself what Araragi is doing here. Is he dreaming or something? Also, Kanbaru Sorer, he was thinking about that, right? The fan club was like Kanbaru Sorer. I think Sorer is kind of, I don't know if I'm expressing that right, if that's pronounced right, but it's French for sister or sisters. So it makes sense, right? Kanbaru sisters, or Kanbaru is kind of our sister, basically, right? In a way. Well, like a couple of seconds later, we do have the cheerleaders in the back on the ground here. Really cool, right? Because they're all Kanbaru cheerleaders, basically. Just a bit further, Gan smelling trouble because she heard Aragi wants to go to his sister and she thinks, ooh, Tsukihi, I don't know. But it's Karen, so sure, we're good, right? We're calm again, we relax. Just a couple seconds later when we talk about it, she's like, oh, Gan. And it goes from this dark green background. We're going for the light green background. We're getting the green light, basically. Really nice, really nice. Also, she's telling him to take a nap, and I didn't notice that at first, right? She was like, take care of yourself, take a nap. He's actually taking a nap. I didn't see the CZs, or I didn't recognize them, right? Immediately click for me, but he actually took the Z's. Nice. All right, a little bit ahead. Oh yeah, I gotta ask for science. Was she changing with him in the room? I need to know. Don't ask why, it's for science, I need to know. The Snugglesmith is really cute, but it's oftentimes, right, oftentimes a sign of a goofball. And Karen is kind of, sometimes she's kind of a goofball, not gonna lie. But also, that frame goes hard and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why, but it's a really cool frame. It's really cool looking. I like it, I love it. I don't know why, right? Maybe you got a clue, but you know. A little bit ahead, we got the Oshinoko reference. It's not actually an Oshinoko reference, I guess. But I guess it's a shout out to the idol scene, right? Because there's a lot of like fan clubs and like fan culture in the idol scene. And in Japan, idol scene is very, very big. So there's that as well, like as an additional element. Just a little bit ahead. What do these numbers mean? What do these numbers mean? I didn't know. Because they weren't there before, and we have them while the conversation is going on. I'm not quite sure what the numbers exactly do mean. 2, 4, 3, 8, 5, 6. I don't connect them to anything directly. So, and I like the blue hues in general. Really cool color scheme for this scene. Also, one thing I also like is like the little shots of the neighborhood. Like, I feel this is giving us a sense of home, right? You start kind of becoming familiar with the location over time, especially since Shaft is very consistent in displaying this neighborhood and this town in general. You kind of, like the familiar scenes always pop up, and it's always similar in terms of like the street layout and whatnot. So it kind of starts feeling familiar, it kind of starts feeling like home for you. Also very cool, the sand sack is slowly deflating as we're talking about communities who lose central figures, possibly deflating, right? That is at least what Araki is suggesting. He's not clearly saying it, but he's like, I wonder what happens to communities like this who are losing core figures like Karen here and Kanbaru in the basketball team. And slowly the sand sack is like deflating while the sand is flowing out. And we switch from day to night, or to evening, from daytime to evening as we're doing it, as we're flashing these scenes. So very good visual symbolism here. And that last frame here with like the almost monochrome, kind of like whitish, blue-gray hues and whatnot, that is an absolutely gorgeous frame. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it looks really, really good. And I love it. I love it, I enjoy it, my eyes feast on it. Just a couple seconds on, we have the egg that's missing its yolk, right? It's missing Karen, and then somebody else wants to come in and be Suhi's partner, basically. And we're wondering if there's conflict because of that, and it's a really nice visual metaphor as well. We do have a shot separating the two of them as they're talking. Kind of, I guess, shows that they're not on the same playing field, right? They don't live the same reality. They're kind of separated in that way and need to exchange past the barrier in order to kind of understand one another. At least that's how I read it. And Karen is throwing the towel. She's talking about how Tsukihi thinks she's special, even more special than Karen, and can do things that Karen can't. So I do wonder if this is like Karen throwing the towel and arguing with or convincing Tsukihi of something else, right? She's like, whatever, she thinks she's special, she thinks she can do all of these things. I mean, it's not in a mad kind of way, it's more in like, well, okay, I guess. Right? Karen is not mad at Tsukihi, I think, but this is like an interesting convo if we're like throwing the towel away and like, you can't beat Tsukihi, she thinks she can beat me, and not in a like physical confrontation, but in like specific things. Right, a little bit ahead, we have an amazing sequence on a visual metaphor level. We do have Kanbaru. All right, okay, well, let me set this up because I want to get it right. We are running, which is a matter of effort and endurance, right? With Kanbaru, she's running, she's giving it all, she's enduring, effort and endurance. We have the book throne, which stands for being the best, being famous, right? Being the victor in certain ways. And then we flash to Karen's empty room, which just has been left. And it's the same, right? We signal that like this mentality about endurance and effort. It's not only applicable to Kanbaru, it's also applicable to Karen. At least that's how I read it, right? Karen's mentality is similar to Kanbaru's. So I do wonder if what we're saying about Kanbaru, that she has low self-esteem because all of her like successes come from her effort, at least in her mind. If that is drawing a connection to Karen, and Karen actually also has low self-esteem. I don't know that quite one-to-one, right? We don't know that if Karen has low self-esteem. But it could be a possibility, right? If she's the same kind of type as Kanbaru, as we've noted multiple times in the past as well. Right, we're heading along with Hachikuchi in the back. We do have that cool shot that she's looking upside down. It's very, very nice. And she's looking very childlike in that, especially in terms of like how she behaves here, right? And she's just in the back seat and like looking upside down and whatnot. Skipping ahead a bit, but I really love the Araragi Hachikuchi duo investigation team. It's really cool because it feels like, how do I put this? It's like their old dynamic, but it feels like we're now more officialized and they have both grown and they both have kind of more freedom in how they can approach things and more power in what they're doing, more experience in what they're doing. But it really feels like we developed, but in a natural way. And I do love that. Do have a crazy Gaan-centric shot again with like the sky being dyed in rainbow colors. Not sure what Gaan and rainbows means. Maybe that's some kind of hint. There's also like some kanji on the road here which are not translated. Maybe some of you can translate me that. What that exactly means. What it's saying here. If it's something relevant, if it's nothing relevant, then who the fuck cares, right? But oftentimes it is something relevant, I do feel. Also, is she not wearing a seatbelt? I mean, I know you're a god, Hachikuchi, but holy shit. We do have like the Nana vampires shot, right? Of like the basketball team where like, right, we the downside of finding all of the victims and them being okay as Nana vampires. And then we have the second that happens, Deftopia's head is kind of stirring or like slightly being bumped to the side. And then we do have the reverse sign. The reverse sign obviously refers to like we're back to square one, but I do wonder if like subliminally we're supposed to kind of feel like maybe what Hachikuji just said, the conclusion, the assumption we made that none of the basketball members are vampires is wrong. So I do feel that could be the case. It might not be the case. I don't know. Alright, and then we go to Kanbaru, and I said this already, but holy fucking shit, Kanbaru. Holy fucking shit, Kanbaru. She is a menace. Alright, she's gonna be a heartbreaker. Interesting how the line separates the members. Yeah, we did have that here, right? The line separates the members. I don't know what it means exactly, but we have a separation of different members on different sides of the court. And then we have some members being right in the middle, being split by the line. So I do wonder if this is a kind of a metaphor for different parts of that old basketball like alumni team being split on what to do about this situation that they're in, right? One or two people are split, right? They don't quite know, and two people are on this side, three people are on this side of like what actions to take. Maybe that is kind of the way to read that. I'm gonna be honest, metaphors have become harder for me to read, and I don't know why that's the case. Maybe it's because we have less info in this arc, right, so far, because we are kind of tapping more in the dark, and because of that, it is harder to read the metaphors that later on, maybe in retrospect, will be a lot more poignant. But at the moment, it's really hard for me to point out metaphors. It's taking me a lot of time and effort to actually parse out what some images could really mean. I'm also wondering what Aragi's request is here, because he's like, there's one more favor I'd like to ask you, and then we cut away and we don't know what it was. So it's going to be interesting. Also, yeah, okay, that I wanted to point out that very interesting that we are reviving a vampire in the middle of water, right? Surrounded by water. I wonder if that is relevant or not. I don't know, but I wonder, because I've something in my head kind of low key about vampires and water, but I'm not sure, like crossing water or whatever. But yeah, also there's like with the stones, this is very interesting. We have like a semicircle with the stones, which is like 6 stones and 1 in the middle. So 7, 6 plus 1. Does that mean anything, or is there some significance? It feels like it maybe. Or maybe it's just like a tradition in a way, like Japanese gardens are drawn out, because this looks very much like the Japanese garden you see with the sand and the lines in the sand and whatnot. Which, by the way, this is some like insane shit. I've seen these before, like pictures of them. Like, you know, the accuracy you need to actually create stuff like that and keep it that way. Holy fuck. That is something. Shinobu comes out, and we do have, like a couple of seconds later, we do have a shot of her pretty much in the dark. And these are we have a lot of shots like these, right? And there's a couple of reasons why this is the case. First of all is, of course, that Shinobu is still a vampire and it's light outside. But that is not the only reason. We also have like a metaphor, like a thematic element here, and that is we are not supposed to see her exact emotions at the moment in those scenes. We see it shortly after when we see her face, but we are supposed to feel anxious and uncertain in those moments where we do not see her face, because I do feel like this is how we're supposed to feel, right? We're uncertain how Shinobu feels in the very moment that she appears. Like there's this uneasy feeling that we're getting from that. And we blink and we do the sake and we do the ritual. Shinobu has a lovely outfit, by the way. Her fashion sense, I said it before, it's really great. It does not disappoint. I love this. This was the shot I meant. I love this shot because it is so perfectly symmetrical and right angled and right boxed in. It's so beautiful. It's making my brain tingle. But also, why the restraints? Is that relevant? Because she's breaking the restraints a couple of seconds later, so I do wonder. You have the RGB colored, GAN colored RGB spotlights, really cool. We have like a crazy rotation shot a second later, where she's looking around and almost like to the heavens, in a way ritualistic, I guess. A little bit later, we do have Araragi and Shinobu together, and they're kind of gazing at the moon together, I guess. It's kind of like a parallel to what we have with like all of the moon shots in the Monogatari arc. There's something crazy, like something about the moon and being together in front of the moon that is, in a way, almost feels like romantic, right? Contemplative, special. especially for somebody like Shinobu who is a vampire. We went over these in the original discussion. We do have this little like right snail and crab and phoenix and cat and whatnot and snake. So we do have all the oddities while we're talking about oddities generally and how it feels to be immortal basically. Also feel like, yeah, Shinobu looks very sad here. I do wonder if her sadness comes like from the way Aragi addresses her, but like overly formal and as master and whatever, or if it's anxiousness for what's to come. Aragi looks so fucking young here, holy shit. It's insane. I mean, I remember Kizu, but holy fuck, he looks so young here. Man, how our boy has grown, hasn't he? He has grown. It makes you nostalgic to like the early days of Monogatari. We do have like a very shortly in here, we do have this, like he's asking about these things, right? He's talking about contemplatively about how he changed in a way, as we are thinking that as well, but he's like, I don't understand you, but then she's kneeling down and we do have that quick affectionate smile that I absolutely love, because she's looking very tense in all of the situations, very sad and all of that, but we do see that when she's turning to Araragi and she's talking directly to him and they're having a heart-to-heart, there's this bond and it's still there and it gets reconfirmed by that quick smile. It's like, I've severed one path. She's trying to reassure him, right? And we're likening oddities to universal constants, right? To like universal rules. And again, sad, really sad. The interesting thing is, we talk about this like when he's flashing back to Kiss Shot, right? Kiss Shot always, like Kiss Shot against the moon, she always feels beautiful in every shot we see, but she also feels very distant. She feels very cold, very unapproachable. Like, very, very sad in many ways, right? Very lonely. This is how Kiss Shot feels when she looks. I mean, that makes part of her beauty. Obviously, her form is beautiful as well, but there's this aura about her, right? A sad kind of beauty. A distant kind of beauty, an unapproachable kind of beauty. Something that's so far away as the moon, maybe, in a way. And I do love that, right? You have Kiss Shot looking over, and then we flash back to Shinobu. She's looking at you normally, at Aragi normally, and then she narrows her gaze. She hesitates shortly, and then she's about to answer something, but we don't get the answer. We get absolutely like interrupted, but I love that as well, because the interruption makes perfect sense. We break the tension of the scene with something that is loud and impactful, which is the bottle being put on the ground, right? And you feel the vibration, and then there's these grand gestures going from Gan, like these finishing words. One who devours, one who slurps, one who crawls. And it's very interesting because we're changing angles wildly, right? Abruptly. It's supposed to be something that has a lot of impact, that has a lot of like... One cool shot is this one where her shadow is bending 2 ways from the light. Really, really well done, right? When she's... right, one is like bowing. I mean, the other one, I guess, is also bowing. They're both bowing, the shadows in front of her, basically. And we have these grandiose shots, right? Like from down below, right? She's tall, she's towering, and all of the light is coming up, the ominous, like feeling the greens, the reds. And then from up above to down below, when she's calling to the heavens, and basically it's a very alien shot. Like I said, in some of my other series, a lot of shots that don't contain the sky and are looking just at the ground are very alien looking. And again, we change the angle again, we flip it around, and this time it's red. We have that glitchy thing that's coming out. I find it very interesting that she's glowing like Asaro Lahime. Like Asaro Lahime was glowing in heaven. It's very interesting that she's glowing like that as she's coming back. You wonder if that has any significance, this similarity between the two of them that we've only seen like at one episode apart. So and she's breaking out the first opening eyes and the looking over again, like really cool. We talked about this in the original shot, right? And they start laughing. I find that very interesting, very cool, the choreography, right? And like you start laughing, the true laugh, the happy laugh, and just continue laughing. There's a couple of very interesting things about that. One of the things that come to mind for me is And I don't know why that comes to mind to me, but the sentence or the short like quote that comes to mind to me is like rattling the cage. This is how it feels when she's starting that laugh and the teeth are chittering and whatnot. It's like rattling a cage. And I guess our interpretation of this, like Shinobu and whatnot, and how we see that, right? Her like smile and us not seeing her eyes, is we are unsure for a short time if Shinobu would be really able to face Suicide Master head on, right? Face her head on and look her in the eyes. We are unsure if this is, maybe even she is unsure of herself, if she can do it, if she has the courage to do it, to face this. But a couple of seconds later, we open up completely. And we do see, and I guess Shinobu herself realizes, she's bright-eyed, she's optimistic, she's positively thrilled, right? There's some excitement and exhilaration coming from her, but also like her look almost feels like it's some child's naivete, right? And I do know why this felt uneasy to me, why this felt unsettling. It's a Dutch angle. We're looking at her from a Dutch angle. And then we start with like this like rhythmic motion, and suddenly we go to this, and the screen is vibrating, right? We have that blurry vibrating. This is almost like the entire space here, right? All the atoms are reverberating in what is being done here. Crazy vibrations. I have that look back and forth. We said that before, well, like with the greeting, right? We've both grown older, and the koi smile. And the last scene here is 2 glasses, and I think that's even the moon in the background. I'm not sure, but I think that's even the moon in the background, right? Shining through the window, giving us like these blue colors that the entire frame is put in. Yeah, that is Monogatari. Episode 12 of Off-Season Monster Season. Shinobumonogatari episode 4 of probably 6 episodes of an arc. Really cool. A lot of amazing visuals, really. And I do love the entire episode. I really feel like I've gathered more out of this episode than the last couple ones. I do feel maybe it's because they've just attributed more budget to this episode. Maybe they just put more into this episode because it was more important in the grand scheme of things. And the last couple of episodes were investigating, so there was more like, obviously we had the usual dynamic shots and the quality wasn't poor, but it was like for Monogatari it felt like, I don't know, episode 8 was here, and then we went for like episode 9, which was like here, like a hype introduction and whatnot, and then we went for episode 10 and it was here, right? And for me personally, 10 was cooler because 9 was the beginning in terms of like analyzing stuff, but even 10 was like still on that lower level, and 11 has kind of lifted it up again, and now 12 is even further, and I'm more excited than ever to actually hear Deftopia talking, see her reaction to Araragi and all the other people, right? How is that gonna go? Is she immediately gonna see through and be like, you're not like the servant or whatever, right? Or are we gonna uphold this farce, or are we gonna be honest and open? That is also, I think, dependent on Shinobu. It's very much possible. I feel that Shinobu's just gonna go out and be like, you know what, I'm gonna be honest to her, right? Change her mind about it after she's reconfirmed her emotion in this situation and established herself again. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you next week. Go check out my other reactions. Check out the Discord and Patreon and all of that if that's something for you. Hope I see you next time. Terminus out.